Hey everyone, today we're going to tackle a grammar puzzle that, let's be honest, trips up pretty much everyone at some point, even native speakers. It's called the sequence of tenses. Now that sounds complicated, but I want you to think of it as a time machine for your sentences. And by the end of this, you are going to be the one behind the controls. Let's dive in. You know that moment, right? You're telling a story, maybe reporting what a friend said, and you just stop. You hit a wall. Do I say he said he is tired or he was tired? It totally feels like a coin flip, but here's the good news. It's not. There's actually a system to it, and believe it or not, it's pretty logical once you see it. So this whole system is called the sequence of tenses. And look, I know that sounds like something out of a dense grammar textbook, but don't let the name fool you. At its core, it's really just about making sure the timeline in your sentence makes sense. It's a rule that helps all the different parts of your sentence agree on when things are happening. Simple as that. Okay, so how does this time machine actually work? Well, it all comes down to one single core principle. This one idea is what sets the clock for everything else in the sentence. And here it is. This is the big one, the most important rule you need to know. The tense of the main verb in your sentence, well, it's the boss. It calls all the shots. It tells the other verbs what tense they need to be in. It basically sets the time for the whole party. Okay, so this main rule basically splits into two paths. Path number one is the easy one. If your main verb is in the present or the future, like he thinks or she will say, then you can pretty much do whatever you want with the verbs that follow. You've got total freedom. But path number two is where the magic happens. If your main verb is in the past, like he thought or she said, that's when things have to change. That's when the other verbs usually need to take a step back in time, too. And this whole process, this idea of shifting the tense one step back into the past, well, it has a name. It's called backshifting. Honestly, this is the heart of the whole thing. If you can get your head around backshifting, you've pretty much cracked the code. So check this out. This table is basically our cheat sheet for backshifting. When you're reporting what someone said in the past, the verb tense just takes one logical step backward. So present simple, like I am, becomes past simple, he was. Present continuous, I am running, becomes past continuous, he was running. You can see the pattern, right? Will becomes would, can becomes could. Even something that's already in the past simple gets bumped back one more step to the past perfect. Okay, let's see this in action. It makes way more sense with an example. So, your friend says to you directly, I am happy. Simple enough. Later, you're telling someone else what he said. Since he said it in the past, that present tense am has to backshift. It becomes was. So you say, he said he was happy. See? Perfect timeline alignment. Let's try a slightly trickier one. Imagine someone says, I have finished my work. That's present perfect. Now, when we report this, we have to take one step back from present perfect. And what's one step back? Past perfect. So it becomes, she said she had finished her work. This is so cool because it makes the timeline crystal clear. The finishing of the work happened before she even said it. All right, so you've got the main rule down. You're a backshifting pro. So naturally, the next step is to learn when to, completely ignore it. Because hey, this is English, right? There are always exceptions. And the good news is, these ones actually make a lot of sense. That's right. Sometimes even when that main verb is firmly in the past, like she taught or he told me, the verb that follows gets to stay right there in the present. The past stays in the present. Let's see why. And here is probably the biggest, most common exception, universal truths. Think about it. My teacher taught me years ago that the Earth revolves around the sun. Did that fact stop being true after she said it? Nope. It's always true. It's a timeless fact. So we don't backshift it. We keep it in the present tense because it's just as true now as it was then. Now this one is really cool because it shows how much power you have as a speaker. You can actually change the meaning just by choosing your tense. If you say, she said she was tired, you're just reporting what happened. She was tired at that moment, end of story. But if you say, she said she is tired, now you're giving us new information. You're telling us that she was tired then, and guess what? She's still tired right now. Your choice not to backshift sends a clear signal. And there are a few other quick exceptions that follow the same kind of logic. You don't need to backshift for habitual actions that are still happening, or for fixed future events that are still on the calendar. And some words, like modals, think should, would, might. They don't really have a past form to shift to, so they just stay as they are. Easy enough? Okay,
So we've been focusing a lot on the verbs, but they're not the only things that need to jump in the time machine. When you backshift a verb, it's kind of like a package deal. Other words in the sentence often have to shift too.
To really sell that past perspective, your words for time and place also need to shift back. It just makes sense, right? Now becomes then. Today has to become that day. Yesterday becomes the day before or the previous day. Let's take an example. If she says, I am leaving tomorrow, when you report it, you backshift the verb. She said she was leaving, but you can't say tomorrow anymore because it might not be your tomorrow. So you shift that too, the next day. See? The whole sentence gets pulled back into that past point of view.
So, why does any of this matter? I mean, it's a bit of work, right? Well, it matters because getting this right is the difference between being a little confusing and being perfectly, professionally clear.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's simple. Mastering the sequence of tenses helps you build a logical timeline in your speaking and writing. That means you avoid confusing your audience. It's absolutely essential if you want to report what someone said accurately. And honestly, it just makes your communication sound way more precise and polished.
So look, by understanding this system, both the rules and when to break them, you're not just guessing anymore. You are now officially in control of the timeline in your sentences. You get to decide exactly when things happened and make sure your message lands perfectly. So the only question left is, now that you're in charge, what are you going to say?